Welcome back to the Valley today. Today marks the 80th anniversary of D-Day, the largest military invasion by sea in history.
Yeah, D-Day is known as the beginning of the end of World War II. On June 6, 1944, about 150,000 Allied troops stormed the beach of Normandy in Nazi-occupied France.
The troops from the United States, the UK, France, Canada, and other countries took on about 50,000 German forces in the amphibious operation. 10,000 lives were lost.
But the offensive was a turning point in the war that ultimately led to the liberation of Western Europe from Germany less than just a year later. This year's anniversary is likely the last major commemoration that D-Day veterans, now nearing 100 years old, will attend.
And helping to protect American troops on the beaches of Normandy from the air that day 80 years ago was the Spitfire.
Yeah, Ian Lee taking flight to tell us all about the Spitfire's lasting legacy.
This British Spitfire roars to life. The iconic 1,750 horsepower Merlin engine and elliptical wings made it a predator in the sky.
The Spitfire was able to not only compete, but actually outperform a lot of the German fighters.
The Spitfire hunted Germans over Britain and Europe during World War II, in the country's darkest hour, and against all odds, it fought off the Nazi war machine, etching itself into the heart of the nation.
It's known most for protecting the UK in the Battle of Britain. It played a massive part in D-Day as well.
Even American pilots learned to love the plane. The first U.S. fighter group in Europe, the 31st, called this airfield home.
So Americans came over and they were given British Spitfires and they absolutely loved them. So this is the airplane we're going to fly today in.
Matt Jones of Spitfires.com maintains 5 of the roughly 70 planes still left. A small army keeps them flying for thrill seekers.
So this is the parachute.
And one lucky correspondent.
We believe this place is sort of a living museum. You know, museums have a very important role in telling a story and protecting artifacts. But a Spitfire isn't a Spitfire unless it's in the air.
And it's in the air where we learn what makes the Spitfire a legend.
Right, here comes the fun. All right.
The fighter banks, barrel rolls, and dives. Matt puts it through its paces.
You pull back.
Steve and I take control of the roughly $5 million piece of history.
You can just feel the power.
This nimble Spitfire, which fought in the war, doesn't show its age at all.
This plane can definitely take a lot more G's than I can.
And 8 decades later, the Spitfire remains a soaring symbol of resilience and victory. Ian Lee, CBS News, Chichester, England.
Wow, what a flight! So during the war, Britain made more than 21,000 Spitfires, and it's the only fighter airplane to fight throughout the entire war.